In Lithuania, the Green Party is launching a list of women only, hoping to bring more equality to Brussels.
Thousands of homeless EU citizens unable to vote because they don't have an official administrative address.
The Portuguese government announced a new plan to toughen immigration rules. They put an end to the regime that allowed foreigners to enter the country and only then apply for a residence permit. From now on, it will no longer be possible for a foreigner with a tourist visa to apply for legalization in Portugal.
A circunstância de termos procedimento segundo o qual uma simples manifestação de interesse é suscetível de facilitar e descontrolar a entrada de migrantes em Portugal, deve ter fim e vai ter fim.
The announcement comes days before millions of Europeans head to the polls to vote for their representatives in the European Parliament, in an election widely anticipated to tilt the bloc's politics to the right.
Lithuania is the only country in Europe to have a female-only list of candidates for the European Parliament. Launched by the Green Party, it aims to draw attention to women's representation in politics, as well as to tackle other gender issues, such as the pay gap.
Positive discrimination, if it's possible to say so, is needed, because here in Lithuania we have other candidates list where male dominate, and in very first places in the list also men are written.
The list also includes a candidate from the Roma community. She's hoping to become an MEP to fight for the rights of young Roma girls who are forced into marriage.
Pomóc młodym dziewczynkom, żeby oni nie wyszli za mąż, jak jest bardzo młody. Oni nie mogą iść do adwokata i pomóc. Ja nie chcę iść za męża. Ja chcę iść do szkoły, do edukacji. Oni nie mogą to pomówić. I ja myślę, że Europa, ona musi nam pomóc i dlatego ja jestem tutaj.
There's also a lawyer that's been helping migrants at the border with Belarus for years and wants to change the new migration pact.
There are a lot of risks in these documents that might enable torture and violence on the border, detention of children, women, and basically just denial of asylum. So I believe that we need people in the European Parliament that would protect everyone's right, including people on the move.
Experts seem to appreciate the charisma of the women in the region.
Rozszerzenie 2004 roku, napływ bardzo aktywnych kobiet z Europy Środkowej i Wschodniej, które często muszą dzielić troskę, ale i poświęcać czas na zadania domowe, także wiedzą, co jest ważne dla kobiet.
Today, around 40% of the European Parliament members are women. And even though women now hold high positions in Brussels, all problems related to inequality still remain relevant and unsolved in many countries. Magdalena Hodownik for Euronews from Vilnius.
While European institutions are urging people to go out and vote, for many living on the street, this is not possible. A European group of organisations working with the homeless Fianza says some 900,000 people are living rough or in temporary accommodation. Most of them are EU citizens, many of whom are barred from voting for administrative reasons.
You need to have a permanent address where you are registered so that you can vote. So if homeless people live in temporary accommodation, or they live in shelters or in the street, it is difficult for them to register in a permanent address.
And it's not only people living on the streets, but also those in complicated housing situations, people without their own homes. In Brussels, they gather at the citizens' lobby, the Syndicat des Immenses, to offer one another help. One of them says she'd like to vote in the European elections, but can't.
J'ai pas d'adresse, donc parce que j'ai perdu mon logement et en plus j'ai même plus de carte d'identité parce qu'on m'a volé mes papiers. Et donc, je n'existe pas en tant que citoyenne de mon propre pays, parce que moi, je suis belge. Donc, si on n'existe pas au point de vue administratif, on ne peut pas voter.
In theory, they could get a reference address at a foster home, but the process is often long and complicated, as another person explains.
Je n'ai pas reçu ma convocation pour aller voter et je ne peux pas retourner à l'adresse, cette adresse administrative officielle que j'ai encore. C'est ma adresse de référence parce qu'on ne me laisse plus entrer dans le bâtiment. C'est une maison de repos et un tour et taxi. Et on m'a mis dehors avec la police.
In addition, for people who are facing hardship, voting is often low on the list of priorities in comparison to more urgent needs.
Le résultat des élections, l'impact du résultat de mon vote sur ma situation, c'est infiniment lointain. Et quand vous êtes dans l'urgence, dans la survie, c'est des choses qui passent pas du tout dans vos priorités. C'est mon intuition.
The European Parliament has been asked to revise the need for a proof of address as a condition in order to vote. But for these elections, it's too late.
Political campaigns for the upcoming European elections are entering closing stages in Bulgaria. June the 7th marks the end of the campaign period for Bulgaria ahead of the June the 9th elections for representatives at the European Parliament. Leading European figures like Commission President Ursula von der Leyen have lent their support to former Bulgarian Prime Minister Boyko Borisov. His conservative party GERB is leading in the polls.
Затова считам, че с нашия глас ще направим така, че Европейския съюз да се управлява добре следващите години.
The country will elect 17 MEPs, voting simultaneously for their own snap election for the National Assembly, which will elect 240 members of parliament. The national snap election comes at a time of corruption scandals and Russian propaganda flooding the country. Pro-Russian far-right party Revival could reach up to 15 or 16% of the votes, according to polls.
Премахване на санкциите срещу Русия и компенсиране на българския бизнес за щетите. Премахване на военната помощ за Украйна, както и даване на гаранция, че няма да бъдат изпратени български войски в Украйна. На пето място, предоговаряне на условията за членство на България в Европейския съюз. Това са важни, наложителни, изключително успешни мерки, които трябва да бъдат предприети буквално в рамките на следващите няколко седмици.
Сега, преценили сте, господин Костадинов?
According to the polls, Liberal pro-minority party the Movement for Rights and Freedoms could gain 13.5%. Closely followed by the anti-corruption reformist force We Continue to Change Democratic Bulgaria, with nearly 13%.
Organisers had expected it to be a big protest ahead of the European elections, despite the fact that Brussels recently eased environmental demands in its Common Agricultural Policy, or CAP.
Non, c'est pas suffisant. On a quelques petites évolutions qu'on est quand même obligé de remarquer, mais ça va, pour l'instant, à ce stade, elles n'apporteront rien au niveau économique.
But despite ongoing anger, this latest protest looks more like a summer festival than a demonstration.
La enésima protesta de los agricultores en Bruselas en estos últimos meses ha sido también la menos numerosa de todas. Hemos hablado con los organizadores que nos han contado que esperaban entre unas 15.000 y 20.000 personas. Finalmente han sido muchísimas menos. Eso sí, tampoco hemos visto las imágenes de violencia de las anteriores ocasiones.
Avoiding violence was one of the key demands made by organisers who've been accused of links with far-right organisations.
That's a lie that we have heard now over and over again. We, Farmers Defence Force, an interest organisation that has only members as farmers, has organised this protest. So everything you see here, the whole financial business has been organised by us and the 7 other organisations. There is no politics in this protest and there is nothing extreme but the people who lie.
But the list of speakers shows a different picture, with speeches from politicians from far-right parties, including the Flemish Vlaams Belang and the Polish PIS. The main farmers' organisation in the EU, Copa Cogeca, did not take part in the demonstration and chose not to comment because of the controversy. The Green European Party says these organisations are capitalising on issues raised by farmers. Its leading candidate, Bas Eickhout, is quoted as saying that the far right has been feeding farmers with the lie that Europe and the Green Deal are to blame for their hardship, adding that a small number of farmers have adopted these lies and are siding with them. He said the Greens were willing to work with farmers who operate within the framework of democracy. The protests, which began during the winter, have pressurised the European Commission into changing the cap and dropping legislation over pesticide use.
Hello, my name is André, and I am the co-founder of Ativet, a Portuguese youth association that strives to pave the way for a more inclusive and democratic society. Our main focus is political literacy, especially with European elections, to have citizens more engaged and informed. And if I were a member of the European Parliament, I would strive to make every voice heard, especially from the youth, and I would advocate for policies that promoted civic education and participation and opportunities for the youth in decision-making processes, because together we can help build a better future for the European Union.
Ich bin Lina Jonsen, ich bin 26 Jahre alt und mein Vorschlag für die Zukunft ist ziemlich simpel: mehr Demokratie. Es reicht nicht, wenn wir alle 4 Jahre ein Kreuz machen. Wir sollen in Gesellschaftsräten zusammenkommen und auch das Vertrauen und die Gewissheit haben, dass Vorschläge umgesetzt werden, dass wir Mitbestimmungsrecht haben und das Interesse vieler Menschen über dem Interesse einiger weniger steht.